Octavian Augustus, the first Roman emperor, began his journey to the pinnacle of power in the distant year 27 BC. But it should not be thought that the road was smooth. The young Octavian was neither a noble nor a warrior. He came from a wealthy but ignorant family, and his only support was Julius Caesar, who by his cunning plan and will made him an adopted son. As a result, he inherited a fortune, not fragile at all and very attractive, including a solid honestly plundered treasure, which he had to protect and increase. But Octavian soon realized that wealth was only a tool that had to be reclaimed again and again. His path to imperial power was paved not by intrigue but by open battle, in which his enemies followed one another like pawns on a chessboard. Legion after legion, from Brutus and Cassius to Mark Antony, fell one by one to the blows of his army. Having dealt with Antony once and for all, he turned his attention to Rome. The Senate quickly realized that it was more expensive to argue with this man. In 27 BC he was given the title Augustus, sublime, divine, as if Jupiter himself had descended from Olympus. Thus, with a new name, he became not just Octavian, but the man who would eventually be called the father of the empire. When he became emperor, he hardly participated in wars personally. Why get his hands dirty when there were such generals as Agrippa, Tiberius, and Drusus? He left his time and energy for other things, leaving the battles to these loyal and faithful men. It was Agrippa who became his right-hand man. Somewhere far away, on the borders of the empire, Drusus, who later became Germanicus, was doing business. But even great generals make mistakes. Among them was a man named Varus, whose name will live in history as a symbol of defeat. It was Varus who, in a wicked irony, became famous for centuries for losing 3 legions in the Teutoburg Forest, leaving them there forever, among the darkness and the pines. When Octavian learned of this, he repeated, "Quintilius Varus, bring back the legions." But Varus could not return, he remained in that forest. Unable to recover the lost legions, Augustus realized that raising new legions was not only a necessity, but a challenge to destiny. This required money, which had to be found here and now. He set about reforming and organizing the tax system, beginning with the systematic minting of coins as a mechanism. It was important to maintain order not only in Rome, but also in the provinces, which required considerable expense and effort. He went to the cities, engaged in the construction of roads and fortification of cities, so that connoisseurs soon began to whisper, "They say that this is not a concern for the empire, and personal interests. They say that Augustus used such trips for secluded meetings with his mistresses." But hardly anyone could accuse the emperor. After all, the emperor's position allowed him to do anything. As sole ruler, Augustus viewed the morals of his day with mild irritation. Young people seemed too free and promiscuous. The moral reforms he tried to introduce became a hallmark of his reign. Laws against adultery and restrictions on luxury were passed. But who gave up secret pleasures and golden ornaments? The people paid the fines, and the empire continued to live in luxury. Augustus' family was as much of a mystery as his politics. His only daughter was Julia, but she too was eventually banished from Rome for living too rough. How bad her debauchery was when she didn't just get off with fines. His successors were also unlucky. First there was his nephew Marcellus, who died prematurely, then Agrippa, a close associate, who died while Augustus was still alive. Attempting to establish order in the line of succession, he even adopted grandsons, Gaius and Lucius, but they did not live up to his hopes, dying tragically early. Finally, his choice fell on his stepson Tiberius, who was the last reliable support in this series of misfortunes.